what we're going to do is pick up where we left off on my second sign and not go through all the gyrations of creating a new file, which are right in here. If I click on this, it's going to ask me this size of my sign. See it? Well, I want it the same size, so I'm going to say it's really okay. All the stuff is still there. I just have to turn it on over here to see it. See it? My second sign. Well, that's not the message we're going to convey. We're going to make this, you're going to learn a few more editing tools and a different way to cut a sign. So I'm going to click on this. If I click on this first and then go up and click on my letterbox that made it, I can edit that. So this is my third sign. If I get the right keyboard, I have two computers going at once, so sometimes I grab the wrong keyboard. This is my third sign. Problem you have now is you can't flip the board over to do the sign on the other side, so you're going to have to get another board. Again, this is set up so you can practice with 1x6 or 2x6 if you want, either way, and carve on it. Those are skinny and tall, but that's fine. You can change the format, you can change the lettering, you can do all that. We looked at it a little bit last time. If I open it back up, you remember all I have to do is click here and pick the font style that I want. And you can add fonts. If you own the license to use the font, you can add more fonts. Let's check our spacing and go left to right. It looks like it's centered fairly well. So I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to do raised lettering. Well, I mentioned before that when you do raised lettering, you want thick letters. So I'm going to highlight both of these and see if this will let me in to bold them. See, it doesn't, because it knows they're made with separate boxes. So I'm going to select this one and then bold it. And click over here, click here, and do the same thing here, bold it. That makes the letters thicker. The other thing that happens when I do that is inside here the spacing gets pretty tight. So what I'm going to do is actually enlarge both of these. So I'll hit my shift key, select the other one, and they are on the same scale, so it should let me do both of these at the same time. No, it's not going to. So I will click off, click on this one, and make this like we did before, 1.5. Apply. Click over here, click on this, and apply 1.5. 1.5, apply. So I've made them bigger. Excuse me. What we have to do, our bit's going to go in here and out there and all the way around. So I'm going to click over here. You'll learn a new tool. Delete. I'm going to get rid of that one. And we're actually going to make a box around these letters, and you'll see why later. You take a box, it's going to be centered. It says our anchor point here is going to be -2. Nope, we want 0, 0. Why do I want 0, 0? Anchor point means that's where it's going to be drawn around. If it's 0, 0, that puts the center of my box right there. I know my board width is 12 inches, so I'm going to make this 9.5. The height of my board is 5 1/4. So I'm going to make this 4.5. Why, you ask? Well, let me create this and you'll see a box appear. It turns out, if I want to raise the letters, I still go back and use my pocket tool but I select the letters themselves and an exterior enclosing box, circle, ellipse, anything you want that goes all the way around it. I select my pocket tool, and what it will do, we're going to start with a 1/4 inch bit. I know it won't work, but I'm going to want to show you a few things. We'll select our 1/4 inch bit. We're going to go to a depth of 0.15. You can go deeper or shallower depending on what your preference is, and you won't have a preference until you've done this a few times. I like 0.15. Then when I tell it to carve that pocket, I'm going to give it a new name, standing, or that's close. Get my fingers on the right keys. Standing letter pocket. And it's not pocket 1, it's the only pocket in this one. Tell it to calculate. And this time I'm going to use what's called a Raster Tool. And that basically means that, as you'll see, it starts on one end and goes all the way across the other. See it? Let's preview that. And here what we've got is the same problem that we had before. The tool's too large. Okay, so how do I clean that up with a smaller bit without redoing the whole thing? In other words, if I rough it with a 1/4 and then I say, well, I want to do that again, but I'm going to do it, and to do it again I can simply say duplicate this, and then I'm going to right click on it again and say rename it, standing letter, and I'm going to click over here in backspace because I don't want the title to get too long because it truncates it. Standing letter cleanup, CL dash up, cleanup. Alright, so I'm going to double click on it. If you notice what it does, it selects the whole thing again. And now I'm going to go down to an 1/8 of an inch bit. How do I do that? I select my bit, go to an 1/8 of an inch, select it. I like to remove the one I'm not using because sometimes it causes confusion and it gets selected inadvertently. For an 1/8 of an inch, but let's make sure we're not taking, yeah, we're doing it again. We want 0.625, 0.0625. Let's try that again. In other words, I don't want to pass depth more than half of this unless you have a strong bit. Okay, calculate. What it's going to do is it's going to redo that whole sign. Well, out in here it's fine. I like that. So why am I scrubbing it again? Plus, if you let this rest on there, you'll see it takes 3 hours and 31 minutes. Let's see what the results look like. Preview. There it is. It cleaned it up. But it didn't clean it up enough, did it? I don't know what that is. That's a wimpy M. So, what I'm going to do is show you a trick that I learned. I'm going to do this again, but we're going to do like we did before. We're going to select a 1mm bit. I'm going to select the 1mm, and since there's not one there, I could make one, but doesn't matter. We're going to select that one because that gives us our diameter. We're going to remove the other one. We're going to do this again, and because it's such a tiny bit, calculating it, see the lines there. Now this should take about 6 or 12 hours. What is it? 13 hours. So it's like, what? Yeah, it'll sit there and chew away. These aren't always accurate predictions, but it's kind of fun to look at. Now I'll preview that, And if you notice, what it's doing is actually cleaning those letters up pretty nice. So I like that result. I certainly don't like all that time wasted. So what I recommend doing is this. All right, we're going to do this, but we're going to go back and look at this. We're going to take all these letters and we're going to use a new tool. It's called an offset tool. Right here, offset and layout. And we're going to offset outwards, not a 1/4 inch, because that's the long way, but probably 0.08 inches. So I'm going to do that. Boom. Continue anyway. And see what it does when I offset those. See how they overlap right there? In here. Okay, so that's a little far. I'm going to reduce that because we're going to have to clean all that out. So let's just do it the way it is. Now, what's going to happen is I'm going to select, click over here. I'm going to, by making a box go from right to left, I select anything it touches. All right. Then I'm going to double click here, which is kind of a bad thing because it's going to lose what I had. Come on. There we go. So I'm going to do it again. Right there. Now, if you notice, I lost that one. So I'm going to select it as well. So I come up, press Shift key and select it. What else did we lose? That doesn't matter in there. Alright, let's try it. Calculate. Now see what it did? It kind of messed up here. But the rest of this did what I wanted it to. And that is, I only want to clean out around the letters. I don't want to clean out all this board. Let's see what it did to the 13-hour cutting time. Brought it down to 1 hour. Let's reset the whole thing. Okay, and just preview that piece. So it worked here, it cleaned all that up the way we wanted it. Nice, clean lines, right? What did it do here? That one did okay. This one didn't. It just kind of butchered that M. Let's go back and look at it, see if we can figure out why. There's my M. And what I want to do is I'm going to zoom in, and it's the first tool. And it's a zoom box. So I come in like this, zoom on just this, and look and see what I wanted it to do. Okay, I see. If I hold my Shift key down, I can deselect some of this stuff. So I'm going to get rid of that. This. That's a happy face, see it there? Get rid of that. Get rid of this. And hopefully then it will clean out between here and here. Alright? So let's redo this. Calculate it again. Oops. I gotta redo that. Do you see what happened? I have to deselect that after I get into this mode. Close this, turn off that. That gets rid of the toolpath. Remember, we have to keep the toolpath out of the way or it confuses what we're looking at. So now I've looked at this, I have to deselect it while I'm in the tool. Otherwise it goes back to the way it was. Let's get rid of that and that. This, this one. Calculate. Reset, preview. Doesn't look like I did it. Let's reset it. Preview. Yeah, still did it. Not sure why. I think it has something to do with these little notches right here. So let's clean up that letter. Which is going to mess things up for a minute, but it's okay. You'll learn a new tool. This is a letter. Click on it. And all these letters are connected together. I can change these to lines. So what it's done is it's changed the letters themselves to vectors. All right. So this I can delete now. This I can delete now. This I can delete. This delete. This delete. See our M in there hiding amongst all those figures. But this part, I can come over and use my scissor tool. See it right there? And I should be able to clip these away. I know these aren't vectors yet. But I might not have to. You see what I see? I think that's a song. See it right there? What it's done is it's made the vectors and the letters on top of each other. See them down here? See how the shape's changed a little bit? Let me click on this one. Okay. You zoom in and click on this one. When I click on that one, I'm going to delete it. Because remember, we can always undo anything we do. And by deleting it now, if you look at it, there's not two of them there. There's just one. And these are no longer letters, so I can't go back here and edit it in the letter box. Because it comes up, I'm not a letter. I changed them into vectors. That's a little more advanced than where I wanted to be, but I just wanted to show you that you can do some neat things once you get into this tool and learn how to use it. Now let's see if I can clip off those overlapping things. Yeah, see them? I can get rid of some of that nonsense. Another one down here. Cleans it up. I didn't do this one, so this one's still letters. But that's okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on this. Okay. And now I need to select the letters. Well, I'm going to click here first. Come over and select all of those. And then tell it to calculate. And that should reset my preview, and that should get rid of the issue that I had of wiping out my M. See it there? And let's see how long that takes. Hour 18 minutes. So that cleans it up without 13 hours of additional work. So that's a trick I learned. It took me a while to learn it, and sometimes it takes longer to do it. You can also, if you think about it, let's look at how many passes that took. How do I do that? And what do I mean by a pass? Right there. I zoom into this. Pick one. You click on it right there. And zoom in. Zoom in some more. Each one of these is a pass. See it? 1, 2, 3. See how many there's here? Oops. Remember how to move it? You hit Control and drag it back down. And you can zoom in some more. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know how many there are. See them all there? So that tells you there's a bunch of them. So instead of making this out, remember we did an offset using this tool? We offset 0.08. This offset 0.04 or 0.03. Okay? Let's turn this off so all those magic lines go away. And we're going to get rid of those letters. And how am I going to do that easily? If I click and drag so I touch just exterior one, see it? And then hit delete. Same thing here, delete. That one too, delete. Same thing here. I can get these two at once, see it? Delete. And if you do the letter, remember you can always undo it. Delete. Takes a little time, but not that much. I guess if you find it boring, you can eat lunch while we're doing this. Or breakfast, depending on the time of day, maybe even dinner. So now I'm going to select it again. And this time I'm going to offset it just a little bit, 0.03. Okay? And then I'm going to select it again. This time I'll go big and select all of it. I should have opened this first because I'm going to have to reselect it when I do it. Click over here, reselect it. Because when it opens, it looks at what it did before. We'll calculate it again. Remember, it was an hour and 13 minutes. See that? What does that tell you? Tells me that my offset wasn't large enough. So I click on this to shut it off. Come back over here. Undo my offset. Okay? And this time when I offset my vectors, I'm going to have to be bigger. So let's go to 0.05. See if that does it. Offset. Click over here to open it. Click here. Select them all. And what I'm doing is trying to shrink that space down. And I think I got it. Remember, it was an hour and 18 minutes. How much is it now? 44 minutes. So I cut it almost in half. Reset my preview. Preview all toolpaths. So it's going to be doing a rough cut, and then I'm going to change bits and then clean it up. So I only have a few issues in here. See it? There, 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 there. How do I clean those up? I go back and do this one more time, but use an 1/8" bit. And if you remember, when I used an 1/8" bit, it could get in here and get some of that stuff out. I could also extend my offset the way it was before. In other words, before I change this, those weren't there. So I'm going to double click on this, open it up, go in here, edit, undo offset. You remember what the offset was before? I do. Sometimes I'm smarter than the average bear. Sometimes I'm not. And see, what it's doing is these are close enough that it's cleaning out the stuff that was missed before. Let's see if it does it. Preview all. Oh no, that didn't work. See what it did? Let's go back to my offset. Yeah, I see what it did. When I selected it, I didn't select these, So double click, because those are new. Remember I said you have to click on the side, then reselect it, because it comes back with the old ones. Boom. There it is. Now, there's one thing I need to change, and it's this hole right here. See it? It's not getting in there with a quarter bit, so I need to clean it out. How do I do that? Double click on this. Well, let's turn this off. Double click on this, and I go in here, hit my shift key, and deselect this one, so it will clean out that whole pocket. Alright, let's recalculate it. See how it cleaned up the whole thing? Reset it, preview all of it. It'll cut the large area with a quarter and do the small. And I still have a few little things left there, and I'll just clean those off with my chisel, wood chisel. Because in reality, most of these won't be here. Just the vibration from the bit will snap them off. That one still will be, and that one will still be. But you have to sand this anyway, so cleaning those up is not a problem. I could extend my offset and it would get it, but it would add so much time here, it's not really worth it. So, alright, hope you have fun with your CNC and you've learned more things than I wanted you to the third time out, but hopefully you had fun with it. And you can see, doing this stuff is, I do it on the fly, so I guess I could redo this whole thing, but you wouldn't see. I like people to learn from my mistakes. I do, so why shouldn't you? Have fun with your CNC and take care and be safe in the lab.